Believe and achieve, transform your mind, transform your life. There comes a moment in every human life when the greatest battle is no longer against circumstances, competitors, critics, or limitations. It is against the voice within. The quiet voice that whispers you are not ready. The voice that says success belongs to someone else. The voice that reminds you of every failure, every mistake, every disappointment, every dream that didn't happen fast enough. Most people spend their entire lives listening to that voice. They surrender to it. They negotiate with it. They allow it to shape their identity. And without realizing it, they become prisoners of thoughts they never consciously chose. But there is another voice. A stronger voice. A voice that has built empires, changed history, and transformed ordinary men and women into legends. It is the voice of belief. Every great achievement began there. Before the invention existed, there was belief. Before the fortune existed, there was belief. Before the victory existed, there was belief. Before the world saw greatness, someone saw it within themselves first. The world has always rewarded those who could see beyond what currently exists. The world has always made room for the individual who believes in possibilities while everyone else sees limitations. Think about Thomas Edison. Thousands of failed experiments. Thousands of reasons to quit. Thousands of opportunities to accept defeat. Yet he continued. Why? Because his belief was stronger than temporary evidence. Most people need evidence before they believe. Champions believe before evidence appears. That difference changes everything. The future you desire already exists in a form invisible to the eye. It exists as possibility. It exists as potential. It exists as a seed waiting for the right mind to cultivate it. And every extraordinary life begins the same way. Not with resources. Not with connections. Not with luck. But with a decision. A decision to believe. The moment you truly believe in a possibility, your mind begins searching for ways to make it real. The moment you believe you can achieve something meaningful, your attention changes. Your habits change. Your energy changes. Your standards change. Your entire reality begins to reorganize itself around that belief. This is why two people can stand in the same room, face the same obstacles, experience the same conditions, and produce completely different outcomes. One sees barriers. The other sees opportunities. One sees reasons to stop. The other sees reasons to continue. One expects defeat. The other expects growth. Their environment is identical. Their mindset is not. And mindset always wins. The greatest prison in the world has no bars. It has no walls. It has no guards. It exists inside the human mind. It is built from self-doubt. It is reinforced by fear. It is strengthened by hesitation. And millions live inside it every day. They wait for permission. They wait for certainty. They wait for confidence. They wait for the perfect moment. Years pass. Opportunities disappear. Dreams fade. Potential remains unrealized. Not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked belief. Belief is not wishful thinking. Belief is not pretending challenges do not exist. Belief is the unwavering decision that your future can be greater than your present. Belief is looking at adversity and refusing to define yourself by it. Belief is seeing darkness while remaining committed to the light. History belongs to believers. Abraham Lincoln faced repeated defeats before reaching the presidency. Henry Ford was told his vision was impossible. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. The people who changed the world were often the same people the world doubted first. The crowd saw limitations. They saw potential. The crowd saw obstacles. They saw opportunity. The crowd saw reasons why it couldn't happen. They saw reasons why it must happen. That is the power of belief. And the same power exists within you. Right now. Not someday. Not after success arrives. Not after your circumstances improve. Now. Because belief does not come from achievement. Achievement comes from belief. Too many people have this relationship backwards. They think confidence arrives after victory. But victory often arrives after confidence. They think belief comes after results. But results often come after belief. The inner world creates the outer world. Every structure first existed as an idea. Every company first existed as a vision. Every fortune first existed as a thought. Everything physical begins in the invisible realm of the mind. That means your future is being built right now by the thoughts you repeatedly entertain. What are you feeding your mind? Are you feeding it doubt, fear, excuses, limitations? Or are you feeding it possibility, vision, purpose, determination? The mind is fertile ground. Whatever you plant repeatedly grows. Plant fear, and fear multiplies. Plant confidence, and confidence expands. Plant excuses, and excuses become habits. Plant belief, and achievement becomes inevitable. Because the mind follows direction. Whether that direction is positive or negative. Whether it leads toward growth or decline. The mind obeys what it hears most often. That is why your internal dialogue matters. Every day you are programming yourself. Every thought is a vote. Every belief is a command. Every decision strengthens an identity. And eventually, identity becomes destiny. The person who repeatedly says, I can't, creates evidence to support that belief. The person who repeatedly says, I will find a way, creates evidence to support that belief. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is not luck. The difference is belief. A powerful vision begins with a powerful identity. You cannot consistently outperform the story you tell yourself. If you believe you are weak, your actions will reflect weakness. If you believe you are average, your standards will reflect average thinking. If you believe greatness is possible for you, your behavior begins moving toward greatness. The world responds to who you believe you are. Not who you wish you were. Not who you pretend to be. Who you truly believe yourself to be. That belief influences every choice. Every risk. Every opportunity. Every relationship. Every habit. Every result. So ask yourself a question. What would happen if you stopped identifying with your limitations? What would happen if you stopped introducing yourself to life through your fears? What would happen if you finally began seeing yourself through the lens of possibility? Imagine waking up every morning with absolute certainty that your life has a purpose. Imagine approaching challenges with the confidence that every obstacle contains a lesson. Imagine pursuing your goals without needing approval from people who abandoned their own dreams years ago. Imagine what becomes possible when your belief is stronger than your excuses. Because that is the moment transformation begins. Not when circumstances change. When you change. Not when the world believes in you. When you believe in yourself. Everything changes when the mind changes. Everything expands when vision expands. Everything grows when belief grows. And the moment you realize that your future is not determined by your past, but by your present decisions, you reclaim your power. You stop living as a victim of circumstances. You begin living as the architect of destiny. The greatest transformations are never sudden. They begin quietly. A decision. A commitment. A new standard. A new belief. Then another. And another. Until one day the person staring back at you in the mirror is no longer the person who once doubted what was possible. They are stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more focused, more determined. Because belief started changing the way they think. And thinking started changing the way they live. And thinking started changing the way they live. Because every transformation begins long before anyone else can see it. The oak tree exists long before it breaks through the soil. The mountain river begins as a tiny stream hidden from view. The sunrise begins while the world is still covered in darkness. The greatest changes are invisible at first. That is why so many people quit too soon. They expect immediate proof. They demand visible progress. They want certainty before commitment. But nature has never worked that way. The farmer plants the seed and waits. The sculptor chips away at stone before beauty emerges. The architect studies blueprints before a building rises. Creation always begins in the unseen. Your future is no different. The life you desire is being shaped by actions that may seem insignificant today. A disciplined morning. An extra hour of learning. A courageous decision. A difficult conversation. A promise kept when nobody is watching. These moments appear small. But greatness is never built from dramatic moments alone. It is built from thousands of invisible victories. Victories over laziness. Victories over distraction. Victories over fear. Victories over the temptation to settle. Every successful person eventually discovers a truth that average thinking refuses to accept. Your life changes when your standards change. Not your wishes. Not your hopes. Not your intentions. Your standards. The standard you tolerate determines the reality you experience. If you tolerate excuses, excuses become normal. If you tolerate mediocrity, mediocrity becomes your environment. If you tolerate inconsistency, inconsistency becomes your identity. But the moment you raise your standards, everything begins to shift. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop making agreements with procrastination. You stop accepting less than your potential. You begin demanding more from yourself because you finally understand something profound. Your future is watching. Every decision echoes forward. Every action casts a vote for the person you are becoming. And whether you realize it or not, you are constantly creating your future self. The question is simple. Are you creating that future intentionally? Or accidentally? Most people drift. They react instead of create. They follow instead of lead. They consume instead of build. And then they wonder why life feels empty. Direction creates power. Purpose creates energy. Vision creates momentum. Without a destination, even great effort becomes wasted movement. Imagine boarding a ship without knowing where it is going. Imagine flying an airplane without coordinates. Imagine building a house without a blueprint. It would be chaos. Yet millions approach life exactly this way. They wake up. They react. They survive. They repeat. Years pass. Potential disappears. Dreams remain unfinished. Not because they lacked talent. Because they lacked clarity. Clarity is power. A clear vision gives meaning to sacrifice. A clear vision gives strength during hardship. A clear vision allows you to endure what others cannot. When Andrew Carnegie built one of the greatest business empires in history, he understood the power of definite purpose. When Napoleon Hill studied the world's most successful individuals, he discovered the same principle repeatedly. People who achieved extraordinary things knew exactly what they wanted. Not vaguely. Not someday. Clearly. Specifically. With conviction. Their goals became magnets. Their vision became fuel. Their purpose became an unstoppable force. You cannot hit a target you refuse to define. You cannot achieve a dream you refuse to clarify. The future belongs to people who know where they are going. That is why you must protect your vision. The world is full of distractions disguised as opportunities. Full of noise disguised as information. Full of opinions disguised as wisdom. Every day something competes for your focus. And focus is one of the most valuable assets you possess. Because whatever captures your focus eventually shapes your reality. Energy flows where attention goes. Focus on problems, and problems grow. Focus on fear, and fear expands. Focus on limitations, and limitations multiply. Focus on possibility, and possibility expands. Focus on solutions, and solutions appear. The mind becomes what it consistently observes. This is why disciplined thinking is essential. Not positive thinking disconnected from reality. Not fantasy. Not denial. Disciplined thinking. The ability to choose empowering thoughts over destructive ones. The ability to direct attention toward growth instead of weakness. The ability to remain focused on the destination while navigating temporary storms. Storms are inevitable. Challenges are inevitable. Setbacks are inevitable. No meaningful goal comes without resistance. Resistance is not evidence that you are on the wrong path. Often it is evidence that you are on the right one. Every great achievement demands a price. Not necessarily money, but effort, patience, persistence, sacrifice, growth. The universe seems to ask every dreamer the same question. How badly do you want it? Not when conditions are easy. Not when motivation is high. Not when progress is obvious. But when the road becomes difficult. When doubt appears. When results slow. When obstacles emerge. That is where destiny is shaped. Anyone can continue when circumstances are favorable. Champions continue when circumstances become difficult. That is resilience. Resilience is the refusal to surrender your vision because of temporary discomfort. It is the decision to remain committed after enthusiasm fades. It is the courage to keep moving when certainty disappears. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Defeat after defeat. Failure after failure. Loss after loss. Most people would have quit. Most people would have accepted defeat as identity. But Lincoln understood something extraordinary. Failure is an event, not a person. Defeat is temporary. Unless you decide it is permanent. And that lesson echoes across every generation. Your setbacks do not define you. Your response does. Life will test your commitment. Life will challenge your confidence. Life will expose your weaknesses. Not to destroy you, to strengthen you. The pressure that breaks some people creates diamonds in others. The difference is perspective. One person sees hardship as punishment. Another sees hardship as preparation. One person asks, why is this happening to me? Another asks, what is this teaching me? The questions you ask determine the answers you receive. Powerful people ask powerful questions. Instead of focusing on what they lost, they focus on what they can learn. Instead of focusing on obstacles, they focus on solutions. Instead of focusing on limitations, they focus on possibilities. And because their focus changes, their results change. Growth requires adaptation. The world changes. Technology changes. Industries change. Markets change. Circumstances change. The person who refuses to adapt eventually becomes trapped by the past. But the person who embraces learning remains powerful. Learning is not something you finish. It is something you live. The most successful individuals in history remain students. Even after achieving greatness. Even after earning wealth. Even after gaining recognition. They continued learning. Because growth never stops. The moment you think you know everything, growth ends. The moment curiosity disappears, progress slows. The moment humility dies, potential shrinks. Stay hungry. Stay teachable. Stay curious. The future rewards those who continue evolving. Every book you read expands your perspective. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your character. Every lesson you learn increases your value. And value creates opportunity. The marketplace rewards value. Relationships reward value. Leadership rewards value. Success rewards value. Become more valuable, and opportunities begin seeking you. This is why self-development is never selfish. It is necessary. When you improve yourself, everything around you improves. Your thinking improves. Your confidence improves. Your communication improves. Your relationships improve. Your results improve. Because the quality of your life rarely exceeds the quality of your mindset. The external world is often a reflection of the internal world. Transform the mind. Transform the life. Strengthen the belief. Strengthen the future. Elevate the identity. Elevate the destiny. And as you continue moving forward, something remarkable begins to happen. The person who once needed motivation starts developing discipline. The person who once needed encouragement starts creating momentum. The person who once doubted their potential starts recognizing their power. Because belief has now become action. And action is where dreams begin turning into reality.